In the tech world, you know, not every idea pans out.
No.
It takes a lot of flops, a lot of misses to develop something that might end up being as brilliant as the iPhone or the Xbox.
Right, so there's a list for pretty much everything, right? Well, there is a list of the biggest tech gadget failures.
I bet you Jeff Maher's got that list.
I bet he does.
Yeah.
I'm a tech guy.
Let's hope we don't own any of these, right?
Or used to own. It's going to be a trip down memory lane for some of you, but to be number one, you've got to take risks, and that applies to every industry, I think. When it comes to video games, a lot of you are familiar with first-person POV shooter type games. That's pretty much standard these days, but back in the 1990s, that was pretty much new territory, and Nintendo, got to give them credit. They tried to be first with this by developing what's called Nintendo Virtual Boy, and it consisted of a controller and this headset, and this is what it looked like to the user playing the game. I believe this is Mario Tennis.
It's got a 16-bit stereo sound, and it actually sounds really good when you're playing the games because it's right by your ear. It's got two of those speakers right next to your ear.
Well, he tried to give it a good review, but look at that. How is that any different than just sitting up close, real close to the screen and giving yourself a headache? That was part of the problem with this. Users became nauseated when they were playing this. It was expensive for the day, 180 bucks. The games were limited, and Nintendo scrapped it after 6 months of having it on the shelves, and they focused their efforts on the Nintendo 64, which was a greater success by far. Let's move on to this next item on the list. And you might be familiar with this, ESPN 3D TV. Wow, what a concept. Football, basketball, baseball, all the action right there on your lap, on your couch. Well, it didn't work out. In fact, ESPN is ditching plans for this. This is more of a recent case. And one analyst said that it was dead on arrival. ESPN's going to stop airing regular programming and live events in the multi-dimensional format by the end of this year. And Dan, I think you'll agree that you've got to have the right cameras on the field with the right angles to make the 3D payoff.
Absolutely, and plus you got to have the right TV, and many of us had just bought super duper HD TVs, and now we had to buy 3D TVs. I just don't think the market was there.
It reminds me of what Hollywood is doing with these movies, making us pay an arm and a leg and not giving us the 3D payoff. So ESPN's probably good to back off of this. I wish Hollywood would do it too, until we really get the payoff, until the technology is really there, or in Hollywood's case, willing to invest in the actual production. You remember VCRs?
Yes.
We used to have them. I think we all had VCRs. When VCRs were first being launched, Sony tried to get a step ahead with Betamax. Okay? Beta basically provided a clearer, better picture. But the problem was it just didn't catch on. Beta is a thing that news stations used during the day, back in the day, and it worked out for a while, but really, it was just VHS tapes that took form, and Sony had to abandon this. Computers, you might be familiar with this, or maybe not. The Apple Lisa. A lot of people haven't heard about this because it didn't take off. First off, the price tag, $10,000 for 1983.
But that's how they look.
Ridiculous. It had 1 megabyte of RAM and 2 5-inch floppy disks, which was a big deal then, but it was slow and unreliable. Apple stopped production of it in 1985 to put more effort into the Mac, which was a good call. The last one on the list is, I feel bad for this guy. Friendster. It could have been the next Facebook. It was developed in 2002, a year before Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook. And the guy who created it, Jonathan Abrams, he had the same concept. And Google offered him $30 million to launch this even further than where he had it, but he said no. And it's, to date, one of the biggest tech mistakes ever, because he had it all there, the profile, the friends, the format, a catchy name, Friendster. This could have been the next Facebook.
Well, no, when Zuckerberg was trying to pitch Facebook, that was one of the things people asked him, well, what makes this different from Friendster? And he tried to explain.
And MySpace. He also had to answer to MySpace, because MySpace was already created as well. So, yeah, you know, sometimes you pass up opportunities.
Jeff, did you have a Friendster account? And is it still active? That's my question.
No, I had a MySpace account. I didn't even know about Friendster. In fact, when Facebook first launched, I didn't get on that bandwagon for about 6 months. I was like, this isn't going to take off.
But do you think it will last? or will it be another MySpace? You hear the younger kids, are they
Will
on their
Facebook
Instagramming?
last, is your question?
Yeah, I mean, how many more years? 5,
Facebook
10 more
is
years?
all-encompassing in our lives. It is going to last. People are addicted to it.
Look at him.
For the
We've
most
got
part.
that on tape. Let's mark the
don't
date.
know.
But
Instagram,
there is such a thing as
Twitter.
Facebook fatigue.
Okay.
Okay, there is such a thing as Facebook fatigue,
Right.
and people wanting to step back because they're sick of getting all your updates.
Oversharing.
Jeff,
Yeah.
weren't you the one who told me that 8-track was the way to go versus cassette, too?
Right.
I still have a cassette player in my car, and I'm still waiting for that to take off.
What about mini disc, huh?
Okay, thank you,
got
Jeff.
Yeah. You know, sometimes your dog saves you, sometimes the owner saves the dog. This is Toaster in a fierce fight against a raccoon, but his owner comes to save him after hearing him yelp late at night. The owner tosses the raccoon down the steps.
Wow.
Toaster is saved,
No way.
and his owner is hailed a hero.
He's lucky he
Or a
didn't get
raccoon
attacked.
Look at this.
abuser.
Wow.
Just picks up the raccoon. Doesn't matter if the thing has rabies, just tosses it.
See ya, Rocky.
Yeah.
Wow.
Another raccoon video. Let's go to this. Homeowner videotaped this. The cats are having lunch. The raccoon wants the cat food. He just makes his way in there. The cats hiss a little bit, but then they back up and they let him have it. And that's probably a smart decision because
What? Look at him. Put his
Like,
hand
that's
in
the
it.
ugliest cat I've ever
Is that
seen.
water
stealing
next
our
to it?
food.
Dipping his.
let me tell you something. Our parking lot is an animal sanctuary. I've come
Yes,
face to face with
yes, it
raccoons at
is.
least 6 times.
Have you
Skunks,
seen any of the
cats.
skunks?
Skunks come in that you
And
got
the
a problem.
skunks and
Cats.
the possums. And I keep my distance with the raccoons because they've got
at
claws,
them.
they're mean, and these cats know it.
Don't mess with a raccoon. We got more news coming up in an hour. That's News 10 midday. Right now, it's on to The View.
Oh boy.
News 10 is everywhere you want to be, including iPad. Download the app today, free at the iTunes Store.